Hi, this is Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Here making a covert video in the dark post-fight Nonito Donaire's victory over Omar Narvaez. Now, let me just say there was a clear winner on Saturday night. A clear winner. One of the more major wins in recent boxing memory. And that winner was neither of the fighters. It was nutritionist Victor Conte, the same Victor Conte who spent time in prison for the Barry Bonds fiasco. If you recall, Conte actually spent several months in prison because he was found guilty or pled to perjury. Now, let me just say this. I think it's a big time movement in boxing that we all need to pay attention to because it involves the biggest names in the sport. And I'm talking about these nutritionists who right now aren't really regulated by the Nevada State Boxing Commission or any other boxing commission, right? The fighters have the freedom to pick whoever they want. There's plausible deniability. If you go to their trainers like Freddie Roach, and ask Freddie Roach about Alex Ariza, Freddie's going to say, as he has in countless interviews, I don't know what's going on there. Alex Ariza is an independent contractor who has his own arrangement with the fighters. Right? Two of those fighters are Manny Pacquiao and Amir Khan, guys wearing belts. Well, understand, Victor Conte, since leaving prison, has built up an impressive array of clientele. And I'm not suggesting that there's anything untoward here, but what I am suggesting is this is new, right? We've had some fitness in the past, but this is a new level of fitness where these guys literally are hiring advanced nutritionists to help them with things like weight loss. And since leaving prison, Victor Conte has somehow hooked up with Andre Ward, who's managed by James Prince, right? Andre Berto, who has a belt, just like Andre Ward does, who's managed by Al Heyman, right? He's hooked up with Nonito Donaire, who's managed by Cameron Duncan. Understand, these are the biggest managers in the sport. He's also hooked up with Karim Mayfield, managed by another group, an up-and-coming group here in the Bay Area. And now, post the Donaire fight, we're hearing that Conte's latest client is going to be the ghost Kelly Pavlik. And so all I'm saying is these are contenders. They're getting help. And for this Donaire fight, it was remarkable. The rumor was that Donaire, who last week said he might have to lose muscle to make weight, that Donaire weighed something like 5 or 6 pounds overweight 36 to 48 hours before the weigh-in. Then he shows up at the weigh-in and he weighs 1.5 pounds under. It was a bit of a shocker. He actually weighed less at the weigh-in than Omar Narvaez, who was fighting at 118 for the first time in his career. Then, of course, Donaire shows up, fight time, he's several pounds over the weight, and what really made Victor Conte the big winner was the fact that as the fight progressed, as we hit the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th rounds, Donaire did not slow down. Right? He was alert, he was ready, he was physically fit. The weight fluctuation, quite frankly, did not cost him. And so a lot of fighters in a sport where making weight is an important part of the sport, where you have some unbeaten talents like Johan Guzman, who has a very hard time making weight. In that kind of environment, I'm just here to say that a nutritionist like a Victor Conti or an Alex Ariza is going to be very popular. Um, for gamblers keeping track of the weights, and I certainly am one of them, I was very impressed with how Nonito Donaire handled his situation. Let me also point out that Victor Conti is on record as saying that he expects Donaire to be very good at 122 and 126. I don't doubt it. Now let's talk about this fight. You know, my one criticism of Nonito Donaire is that he's getting a little bit too reliant on that left hand, and you saw it early. I know the judges scored this fight a shutout. I certainly did not. I thought of the first 3 rounds, for example. I thought Narvaez won at least 2 of those 3 rounds. I thought he was coming inside. I thought he had Donaire time from the opening bell. I thought he was catching Donaire's left hook on his gloves. I thought Donaire, quite frankly, looked limited. He looked too left hook dependent. Now, Donaire is a great fighter. No doubt he's one of the very best in the sport. I personally believe Donaire is probably underrated. He's an excellent fighter. Let me just say this, though. There is another level up. He needs to sit down and look at films of Salvador Sanchez. He needs to figure out how to vary his attack so his opponents don't know what's coming, right? He's wasting a lot of talent if all he's doing is hoping to catch you with the left hook and then moving his feet to move backwards out of range when you step forward, right? He's going to have to come up with techniques where the left hook is just part of his arsenal. There was a moment in this fight where he actually hurt Narvaez with a right hand. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do it with regularity. He didn't seem comfortable, in my opinion, setting up that right hand. Let me also make a point. Narvaez was fighting out of his weight class. I understand that Donaire won the fight. I'm not questioning that at all. But per pound, I thought Narvaez showed more up-close technical brilliance. He just wasn't strong enough to withstand Donaire's attack while coming forward. But if you think about where the fighters were coming from, the weights and what have you, it was incredibly impressive that Narvaez was able to literally stay in front of Donaire. He wasn't running. He was the guy staying in front of Donaire, and there was very little that Donaire seemed able to do to hurt him. I know the media narrative is talking about how Narvaez was in a defensive shell. Well, understand, I'm sure Narvaez himself thought, given Donaire's weight fluctuation, that if he pushed this to the later rounds, maybe things would fall apart for Donaire. They didn't. Donaire held his own, but I do feel that it's unfair to group Narvaez in with the James Bone Crusher Smiths and the Joshua Clottys in terms of guys showing up in fights. Shane Mosley against Manny Pacquiao, just trying to go the distance. I actually thought he came in. I thought he did good work. I thought he hit Donaire with several left hands. His problem was that Donaire is an athlete at 118. Donaire is much bigger than him. Donaire is faster than him. He just wasn't able to close the gap. He couldn't deal with Donaire's power and step forward at the same time. Keep in mind, too, that Narvaez gains weight to fight at 118. He's done with 118. He's going to drop back down now. He took this fight because he looked at Donaire and thought that Donaire was perfectly suited for him. And so that should be a tip-off that there's a blueprint on Nonito Donaire. In other words, once you figure out that Donaire is setting up traps for his left hand, you can defense him. In fact, we just saw that happen for 12 rounds with an opponent who wasn't even in Donaire's weight class. The reason I bring this up is Donaire is now gaining weight. He's going to end up now in the deeper end of the pool. And understand, it's debatable who hits harder, Donaire or Johnny Gonzalez, right? I mean, you have guys out there, quite frankly, with different skill sets at 122 and 126 who are going to test him. So I hope that he looks at Salvador Sanchez tapes and figures out how to throw more body shots, how to feint a little bit more, how to use the threat of a left hand to actually set up a right cross or, a lot of punches with his right hand. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm way off base on this one. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Did the fight go the way you thought it would? Did Donaire look as dominant as you thought he should have looked? Or did Narvaez have a lot of success standing right in front of him, covering up from Donaire's left hand? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.